Yes, it's Horns Up. I'm Animesh.
And I'm Peter.
And today we are talking Blackbraid, a solo indigenous black metal project from the depths of the Adirondack wilderness. Yes, I hope I got that right. It's the same artist that's being talked up quite a bit by the metal press, and we've got the project creator Sgah'gahsowáh or John with us. I'm very curious, what does Sgah'gahsowáh mean?
To start, Sgah'gahsowáh is Mohawk, and it translates to the witch hawk, which is pretty much the alter ego I decided to go with for Blackbraid.
Again, like, don't get me wrong here, and I may be overstepping boundaries, etc. But these Mohawk names, is it something that's given to you, or is it something that you choose?
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, it really varies from tribe to tribe. Traditionally, most tribes you would be given your name, and most people have like 2 or 3 names, depending. Like you'd usually be given a name at birth, and then one like around adolescence, and then depending on your life, you might even be given another name in adulthood, like if
Wow.
your life drastically changed. As far as Sgah'gahsowáh goes, I'm not actually Mohawk, but I live on Mohawk ancestral lands, and Blackbraid is pretty ingrained with this wilderness, and the Mohawk territory is like such a foundation for it. I decided to take that name to honor the Mohawks. So
Fascinating.
Awesome. That's great. Let's be honest here, right? In the last few months, you've garnered quite a bit of media attention. I mean, you've got blogs, animation, my favorite, Invisible Oranges featured you. Recently, you've been featured in Kerrang magazine, Banger TV earlier this month. Heck, you're talking to 2 guys from Bombay, India at the moment. So break it down for us. Like, how's the past few months been for you?
it's been really surreal. I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, it's so nuts. Like I've been thinking a lot this week, especially because the album's coming out next week. Like I realized that I haven't even been a band for 6 months yet. Like my very first single, like I made the page and put out Barefoot Ghost Dance, like the like last one of the last days of February. So I'm coming up on like 6 months right now, and it's pretty much gonna be exactly 6 months from that day to like when I release the album on the 26th next week. So it's really crazy to me to think that it's become a little more normal, and like I'm kind of used to the attention from the press and stuff at this point. But like when I step back and then I remember that like, oh, like I really only have 2 songs out. And that's like that always blows my mind. You're like, oh, like 6 months ago I was building houses and I hadn't even started this band yet. And it's like everything kind of just changed so fast. It's easy to get caught up in it, but yeah, sometimes it's pretty surreal. I mean, like I said, I'm a pretty normal guy. Like I was a carpenter. I build houses full time for work before this, and I quit my job to focus on Blackbraid in like probably like April or May. So being like a career musician is like an extremely new thing to me. I've only been doing it for like 2 or 3 months tops, and it's still like really exciting and overwhelming.
Clearly, you must be enjoying it so far as a full-time musician.
Yeah, I do love it. I mean, in the work I was doing before was so hard. I was breaking my back every day. It's like it's black and white, like the difference. Like I can get up and I'm not sore, and I'm working on stuff I actually love. So yeah,
Okay.
It was an easy adjustment.
Having put that into context, right? Like at the moment of us recording this, which is a week before the album release, there are only 2 songs out. Now, Animesh and I got a press copy of the album, so we kind of got to listen to it. So let's talk about the album itself, right? I mean, so for my ears, the album is a sublime mix of just the atmosphere and just the black metal intensity, right? When I was first listening to it, I was instantly reminded of Immortal, just like their early stuff before like they started getting like really well produced. So I have to ask you, like, what were your sonic references while you were like writing or recording the album?
Yeah, that's pretty funny because I like Immortal was not on my radar at all when I wrote those songs. Like I hadn't listened to Immortal like in years. It just wasn't really like on my mind at all. But as soon
Mm-hmm.
as I listened back to them after I was like first recorded them, I was like, wow, this sounds like Immortal. And um, but yeah, like going into it, I tried to kind of, I mean, there's so many bands that influence me, but with the guitars, a lot of it is kind of influenced by Finnish black metal bands like Sargeist and Sarkrista and stuff. Um, just like I really love where that scene has been, especially in the past decade, with like really fast riffing and blast beats and stuff. And some of it's influenced by that. When it comes to vocals, I really love Dissection. I'd say
Hmm.
if there's any bands I draw, I like to take inspiration from vocally. Like Dissection would definitely be a huge one. I like Uada a lot too, and Magla. But other than that, like I really try to make it it's very nature oriented and nature based, and I want it to sound more like nature than metal in a way, almost like
Hmm.
I don't obviously I have influences of other big black metal bands in there, but I'd rather it kind of be its own entity in the end, I think.
To me, your music felt thoroughly refreshing. And I really didn't make the nature connect on the first few listens. It's only after I started reading about your music as such that the nature connection became obvious. But while listening to it, what really intrigued me was this natural kind of feeling of sunshine, good vibes, and dare I say, almost hope that seems to garnish the entire album, which is
On black
often
metal.
not heard in black metal as such, right? Have you heard such sentiments from others? Or am I just hearing this album absolutely wrong?
No, I mean, it's not something I do hear a lot, but I definitely see it, you know, like I feel very strongly that way too. Maybe it's something that people pick up on a little less in black metal, but it's definitely that was a focus of mine too. Like so much black metal is based in hate, and
Mm-hmm.
that's not really relevant in Blackbraid. Like there's some emotional stuff about sadness and other things, but nature is really my main focus in it, and nature in itself is something like so beautiful and unique to me, and it does, you know, it's a really beautiful thing filled with a lot of complex happy emotions, and
Mm.
I think it definitely translated into the album. Like it's people think it's I've been told it's a pretty therapeutic album to listen to. Um,
Yes, it is. I absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
that I kind of went into it with that intention, but it came out so much more than I really thought it was going to be, you know? Like I kind of surprised myself with it too, because it is really powerful. I mean, I listen to it all the time myself still, so
How
Okay.
cathartic is that process for you? Or how cathartic was the process of making this album? And now that you keep listening to it, what is it that you're trying to process?
I don't know, it's pretty nuts. Like I think I just like I was so focused on making black metal that I love and that's different and something that I really felt black metal was missing, you know? And I guess I did a good job because like now I'm kind of just like a fan of it. Like it's not even like you know, I'm not editing the songs anymore, writing any more lyrics, but I still just constantly find myself listening to that. Like I'd rather listen to that than something else like the new Behemoth or something. Like, you know, I'd rather just listen to my own stuff. Nothing against
Spoil
them, but like I
Spoiler,
just
New Behemoth is not that great.
but yeah, I love those songs so much and they're so personal to me. It's like so easy just to throw them on to calm myself down at this point.
Okay, so since they're so personal to you, you've released them out into the world. and now every Tom, Dick, and Harry, whether can have a potential opinion about it, and some may agree with it, some may not agree with it. How easy or tough is it to wrap your head around that for songs that are so intensely personal for you?
It has been really nuts because I mean, obviously, the vast majority of the feedback has been amazing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for the most part, people love it. It's just really crazy to like those songs are. I connect with them on a really personal level because I wrote them, and I can see, they represent like certain times of my life and stuff to me, and but like to see other people hear them who have never walked in my shoes or know nothing about me and like still get the same feelings and emotions from them and tell me that it moves them is really surreal. Like I never that's good music, And I never really thought I'd get there, especially not like right out of the gate. So it's been really amazing. I don't really know
Okay.
how else to describe it.
Okay, cool. So again, just to stay on this tangent for a little bit more, I was trying to Google you and trying to find out more information, and I came across a couple of reviews that have been penned by you. What's your take on reviews, especially in this day and age where reviews don't necessarily have to come from someone who is a critic? Having said that, the question is, and because of the context of our chat, what have the reviews got right and wrong about Blackbraid's music?
I love reviews. Obviously, I used to write stuff. I wrote for a few little black metal zines and stuff, and I did some solo reviews too. I still love writing. I don't have time for it. I haven't written a review in years. But
Likewise.
yeah, as far as the reviews go, I mean, I'm happy to see it more people out there reviewing it. Because in my mind, like the critics are probably the opinions I care the least about, Like when it's opinions coming straight from fans, it seems so much more genuine and it's a lot like more satisfying too to just see random, normal people like me and you really connecting with it. It's almost more personal than like seeing it on someone's blog or something that you sent it to and you knew they were going to review it. I really love it when reviews of me pop up that I didn't plan, and someone
Mm-hmm.
just decides to review it out of their own accord. And even if they maybe say things about the album that weren't on my radar before, it's always like, even if I don't agree with them, it's always pretty useful to like see what other people are thinking and how they're perceiving the music and stuff. So yeah, I love it. And anyone can review Blackbraid. I'd be happy.
I wanted to go back a bit, right? And like take us back to probably, I don't know, earlier this year or even before that, because from what I could see on Bandcamp, at least, you released 2 singles in Jan. So what was the plan back then, like when you were releasing them? Did you like kind of have this plan that it would be a longer release, or it was just like, let's put the single out and then let's take it from there? What was the idea then?
So I actually put my singles out. One was the last week of February and one was the first week of March, I think maybe. They were right next to each other.
Yeah.
But I had so little following that no one even knows those dates. So like when you go look on the metal archives, it all just says January 1st because no one ever put in a date for anything, and I don't remember what it was at this point either. But yeah, they actually came out in February and March. Those first two, I don't really know. Like by the time I was putting them out, I was pretty set on putting the album out. Like it was already like 3/4 of the way through being recorded. When I released that first one at the end of February, I didn't really expect anything to happen. There's just there's so much black metal out there, and there's new black metal coming out every day, everywhere in the world, and so much of it is amazing too. Is the kicker? Like it's just such an oversaturated scene, and there's so many amazing bands that go undiscovered just because they kind of get drowned out because there's so much competition at any given time. So I was kind of just hoping to release this stuff for myself. I definitely didn't expect it to go anywhere or get any sort of traction. I was thinking I would probably only do a digital release and then maybe do, I don't know,
33
like 100
copies of
records or something. Yeah, like nothing. If like I could maybe justify finding the money to do that and then have them sit in my basement, but yeah, I definitely didn't really anticipate anything happening with it. I was just doing it to say I did it, I think, in
Okay,
the
so
beginning.
just like as a documentation of sorts, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
But tell me this then: how did like Blackbraid transform from those singles that you had into a project, and now playing live gigs? I mean, you're playing all the way in California next month with Cemetery, Stench, and Metzli. If I'm
Metzli.
getting
Yeah.
Metzli. I mean, how do you kind of take songs that you've written with like zero expectations, just kind of documenting on your own, to now you're taking this live, right? There's like a huge jump to that. What's that
Yeah.
preparations like? I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, you've played everything except the drums, right? On this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been really nuts. I mean, I actually in the beginning I insisted for like the first 2 or 3 months I was like really adamant about always being a studio project and never playing live. That was when I was still working too, and I never in a million years thought Blackbraid would be my career at that point, and like I couldn't take time off to go play shows. Like I was working and stuff, and I got stuff at home. So I just like wasn't in the position to tour. So I told people right off the bat, like, hey, I'm never playing shows. And that changed pretty quickly by like the middle of the spring. But yeah, it's been really surreal. The decision to really go out there and start playing the shows and make it a live thing came pretty much at the same time that I quit my job because the income's there right now to support me, but after the album comes out, it will die down, and it was one of those things like, oh, well, like if I really do want to do this as my career, like how can I keep supporting myself on Blackbraid
Hmm.
after the album's out? And obviously shows or I don't really plan on touring extensively, but I definitely want to do at least a few festivals a year to kind of get our name out there. And honestly, it's really fun. Like I didn't really think I'd ever have the means or to play a show, and now that the demand is there and everything else, like it's pretty easy to say like, hey, let's do it. So
Does the live setting translate to a band with fellow musicians, or is it you doing everything through the magic of
A drum
amplifiers and
machine.
synthesizers and computers and what have
yeah,
you?
so I did decide to go full band for the live shows. So we're a 5 piece. I won't even play guitar. I'm just gonna do vocals and that's it. And it'll be a
Hmm.
full backing band behind me. Um, as much as I love guitar and I'm a guitarist at heart, I don't want the vocals to suffer with me trying to multitask. So I kind of bit the bullet and decided to make myself do only vocals and yeah, there's a full band behind me when we play live now.
Okay, so having said that, how do you teach people these songs? Because you have this intense personal reaction with them, and even though you can share the notes and the tablature, sometimes the emotion might not come through.
Yeah, wasn't really that hard. I
Of
kind of
course,
just
yeah.
I try to pick guys that I know are good for it. Like I don't go out there like looking for like Yngwie Malmsteen or Eddie Van Halen or anything. Like I don't really care if they're guitar virtuosos. I just want them to understand the music and
Hmm.
really be connected with it. Um, More than half the guys for my live lineup are indigenous as well. That was kind of a focus for me there. So, but yeah, the guys I got in my live band have all done live gigs for other decent US black metal bands, and they're definitely not new to the scene, and they all love Blackbraid so much, and I was already friends with them before Blackbraid even started, so it was a pretty easy transition when I did decide to play live to be like, hey, do you guys want to play with me? And it wasn't easy. It wasn't hard to get them to say yes. So
Alrighty. The title of your album is Blackbraid I, which infers that there'll be a Blackbraid II, and so on and so forth. How do you see Blackbraid evolving? What's your ambition for this project?
I have a lot of ambition, and it's kind of all over the place, I guess. I've always had like a really kind of concrete idea of what I want the first two albums to be like in my mind. I've been working on the second album for 2 or 3 months now, so I'm already pretty far into it. Yeah, from the beginning, I've had this pretty specific idea of what I want for the first two, and nothing after that. So right now, it's like I know I want there to be albums after that, but I have no idea what it's gonna be like. So like right now, I've been kind of hyper focused on just getting the second one done now that the first one's done, because I already have such a concrete plan for it. And once the second one is done, I really have no idea what's going to happen because I haven't thought that far ahead yet. But the second one has always, in my mind, kind of just been a continuation of the first. Like the second album will be pretty similar, but it's going to be longer and bigger and better. It's kind of just a perfection of the sound that I go for in the first album. So they won't be too different, but I definitely think that the second one is more put together. I'm better at writing songs, and it's definitely going to be longer too.
Are you putting a lot of pressure on yourself? Or do you feel more pressure now that Blackbraid I has received such high acclaim?
I definitely do feel a lot more pressure. Like, I try not to let it get to me too much, but like, to give you an example, like there's a song I just recorded last like 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was pretty sure was gonna be the best song on the second album, and like I was losing my mind over how awesome it was for like months before I recorded it, and then like now that Blackbraid's getting so huge, I'm like kind of doubting myself, and I'm like, oh, should I work on this a little more before I record it, or is it like really that good, or am I just like talking myself up? But yeah, I think it's healthy too, because it kind of just forces me to spend more time on the songs and make sure they really are good. You know, I almost rushed some of the one or two of the ones on the first album. I didn't really think about it that much because I hadn't even recorded anything yet, and I was like, kind of just wanted to put it out there. I didn't have any image to live up to or anything, so I'm definitely like under a little more stress now, but I think it's probably helping the music too. Like I'm definitely spending a little more time on it.
All right. So, we've already talked so much about album 2, but for a lot of our listeners who haven't had a chance to listen to the first album or have any idea who Blackbraid is, why don't you pick a song from the album that you'd like to introduce the project to probably a new listener?
If I was going to pick any song to introduce people to Blackbraid, it would probably be The River of Time Flows Through Me.
Okay.
And that one's already out as well, so they could even hear it now. But I don't know. Out of all of the songs in the album, I feel like that one kind of encompasses the overall feeling pretty well, and they all could almost fit into that song somehow. But I think that song is definitely like the essence of Blackbraid, and there's that sweet video we made for it too. So if you were going to listen to one song on that album, I'd probably say that one.
Okay, so here it is. Here is The River of Time Flows Through Me.
a large part of Blackbraid is the outdoors and nature, right? And one of the things I read is that you've lived in the wilderness uh, and been an outdoorsman for most of your life. So, if you could kind of share and like kind of tell us some part of what was your childhood like, and how did you discover and foster your love for the nature and the outdoors in general?
Yeah, I mean, I really grew up in the country, and I live even more in the wilderness than where I grew up somehow. I don't know how that's possible, but it's always been just it's the biggest part of my life. When you grow up in nature, it's really hard to um see anything else, like in the town I grew up in, like I'm in my 30s too, so like when I was like a young child, like we didn't have cell phones or
Yeah.
video games. Was like N64 was a big deal when that came out. Like we didn't have much in, like, even in my house, like our TV sucked because we couldn't get cable or anything, and we had like three channels because we were out in the middle of nowhere. So we didn't have a good TV. So like I couldn't really play video games on it even if I wanted it to. So when I was growing up, in my nearest the next house down the road from me was like more than a quarter-mile walk.
Wow.
Um, like I grew up, like, I think my parents had 36 acres in the
Wow.
plot I grew up on, and most of our neighbors had at least that much too. Like, we're definitely pretty pretty rural community. So yeah, like there wasn't even like really like walking next door to play with other kids or anything.
Yeah.
Um, like I had one friend, and it took me one friend that was walking distance, and it took us a good 40 minutes, 30 40
Mm-hmm.
minutes to walk to each other at that age too. I mean, every day, before I was old enough to go to school and stuff, I mean, it was just, I'd wake up and go outside and I'd play outside for 10 hours until it got dark, and then I'd come back in, and then if we did family stuff, too, we'd go hiking or we'd go camping or something. Like there wasn't much else around to do when I was growing up. So it was kind of just second nature for me, and I didn't realize how important it was to me at all. Like I kind of took it for granted for most of my life until I was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And in my 20s, I spent some time living in cities and stuff, and like it didn't really hit me how ingrained in me it was until I like lived in places outside of nature
So
and realized
hang
how
on.
much I was missing, I guess.
So hang on. At what age did you like first discover that not everyone lives in like the wilderness, like on a 36-acre kind of area? Like, because just to give you perspective, right? Like the city
Yeah.
where both of us live, I don't know, on 36 acres, how many people live, right, in Bombay?
Yeah, so it was kind of like a gradual learning, I guess, because on my dad's side of the family, his mom, like my grandma, lived in Long Island down by New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So we'd go down there, and like I had been to New York City a handful of times before I was like 10 or 12, just on family day trips and stuff. It would take us maybe 4 hours to drive down there from where we were, from where I grew up. But so I had like um a little exposure to the city a few times a year like that when I was young. Um, it didn't really hit me how different it was, like, to live in a completely different lifestyle like that until probably like middle school, I'd say. Um, like around the age of maybe, I don't know, 12, 10 or 12 or something, or 14. Because when I was young in elementary school, it was such a small town, and all the kids I went to school with came from places like, we all lived in the same like wilderness there. So like they didn't know any different than me, and like we would all go home and play outside for the entire summer and come back. And so like it wasn't really, it just seemed like the ordinary thing to do there. But it wasn't until I was older, probably, yeah, around like 10 or 12, when I I was in middle school and like starting to hang out with other kids more, and um you're becoming more social, and getting into teen stuff and wanting to do more stuff, and like I started like branching out and hanging out with kids um from like the next town over or the town after that, and like then you really start to realize like, oh, I kind of live in the middle of nowhere, and like like you go to the suburbs and this guy's got like he's got like 10 other houses visible from his driveway, like right around there, and I'm like, oh man, this is different. But yeah, I'd say it was probably right around that age, like middle school was when I really started hanging out with like kids from the city and the suburbs, and like really started hitting me how different our lives were around then, I think.
Mm, okay. Now, if there's one metal genre that has some serious connotations and weight attached to it, it is black metal. So I have to ask, uh, why choose black metal as such for Black Braid? Or how did that come about? I mean, you know your stuff and you're clearly interested and are a fan of this genre. So could you take us through your relationship with black metal?
I've loved black metal for years, so I didn't really think twice about making Blackbraid black metal. Like it always just seemed like the natural thing to do, especially with Blackbraid being like so ingrained in nature and like Native American culture and heritage and stuff. It the parallels between that alone and black metal are already so strong. Like
Mm-hmm.
if you look at early black metal and like the early Norwegian scene and all the really big bands that kind of formed black metal, a lot of them were like either pagan or satanic bands or atheist bands, any of these things. Like the main thing going on there was them revolting against Christian oppression, and how the Christians had kind of come into all of Scandinavia and just kind of like suppressed all of their pre-existing culture and replaced it with Christianity, and like kind of really just oppressed the crap out of them, and they were sick of it and angry and started burning churches and stuff. Um, so the same thing happened here. The Christians were one of the biggest orchestrators of genocide against Native Americans in this
Mm-hmm.
country, and um, there's a huge anti-Christian sentiment among Native Americans because of all the suffering they've brought to us too. And at the same time, with black metal being so based in nature and paganism and nature worship, and that also really fits right into Native American perspective. So it kind of just seemed like if I was gonna write genuine music about my experiences and stuff like that, there wouldn't be any genre better than black metal for it. I don't think.
Mm, okay. Given how strong the narrative is to your music, are you at all worried that your narrative as such will be perceived by some to be a gimmick or maybe cheapened by some to just be seen as a gimmick?
Yeah, that's definitely crossed my mind. Um, and actually, on this first album that's coming out next week, I think like there really is almost none of that, and that goes along with what I was saying earlier too about having a pretty concrete plan for how I wanted the first two albums to go before I
Mm-hmm.
started them. This first album is pretty raw black metal when it comes down to it. Um, and I kind of decided to do that. There was a lot of times I thought about adding more traditional instruments or other things,
Yeah.
but I didn't want it to be seen that way or seen like I was using the culture as like a crutch almost.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to kind of prove to myself with the first album that like I could put out a really solid black metal album without relying on any of those tropes. And I think that's kind of what it is. Like it is indigenous theme metal, but when you listen to it, like you don't hear a lot of that stuff, or when you do, it's very subtle. Like it's very obviously a raw black metal album throughout the whole
Mm.
thing. And there's no doubt that you know, I wouldn't say there's anything gimmicky about it, and it was intentional too. And there's things I use like a skin drum and the flute and stuff on it, that I use like very sparingly, and I definitely will use that more on the second album, and it is definitely like a bigger thing that I've developed into too. But I really wanted to avoid using it too much the first time around.
So
Right.
will it like bother you if I don't know, 2 years, 3 years down the line, people refer to Blackbraid as that? Oh yeah, have you checked out that indigenous black metal project? Oh,
No, I think I'll like it. I think I'm learning to not really care about what other people say too much, and it's working
that
pretty
is
well so
black
far.
metal.
That is
Yeah.
black metal. True, it's true black metal.
That's true black metal.
But I mean, like when I'm thinking about it, right? Because you've got like, especially when you look at in Norway itself, right? You've got like the first wave, the second wave, and all of them.
Yeah.
And now just look at where like a band like Dibubogir or Emperor or guys like that are, right? A lot of them, when you think about it, especially when you read some of their early interviews and stuff, I mean, I'm sure you've seen all of that, right? Especially
Yeah.
the I mean, the Gal Satan thing, I think, is one of the. It was a meme before there was a term for it, right? But I think that's where something like what you're doing kind of stands through, right? Like, I don't know, maybe 5 years from now, you listen back to this interview and be like, what was I really saying, right? Like, I have to play live. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But I have to ask you at this point. I mean, in terms of, you talked about how Blackbraid was just something that was your vision. Now it's kind of become a project. You've got other people working on it, and especially since you spoke about just like Blackbraid being like you wanted to have a black metal sound. Uh, but you've always talked about like Blackbraid as a project, and one of the things about you, I think even Animesh tried this, is there isn't much other information about you online. So were there like, did you have like high school bands, or were there other projects, or do you have other projects that don't really people know about?
Yeah, no, yeah, there's like it's pretty hard to find information about me online. I didn't really have social media or anything before I started Blackbraid. I've never had
Wow.
Facebook or anything.
Yeah.
Wow. Now
So
you're
it
truly
is-
black metal, because you and
Yeah.
Animesh both are not on Facebook. Wait, are you on Facebook now or not?
No.
Wow.
That's
Okay.
even better. Yes.
Something
I
two of
have-
you have in common.
I have Instagram, but that's it. Like
Oh.
I don't use Twitter either or
Oh, that's okay. I use
Any of
Twitter,
the
so
other
that's
things.
fine. We are each black metal band guy only it's one of the rules that we subscribe to as soon as we start a black metal project. We can only be part of one social media network,
or
not
or
more.
I should say it the other way around, right? Like social media can only handle that much black metal. Like no YouTube videos ever. Oh wait, you already have one. But yeah, sorry, go ahead before we completely derail
Oh,
what
yeah.
you were saying
What was the question again?
about like having other projects, or
Oh,
is
yeah,
there
yeah.
will there be, I don't know, will you start a neo folk country, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah.
rambling on the project.
I do think I'll probably do a folk album at some point, but it'll probably be as Blackbraid.
Hmm.
I don't think it would be a different project. I'd like to at some point definitely do like a acoustic or a folk album. A lot of the songs, pretty much all of them on the first album too, like I have slightly like acoustic renditions of them.
Oh really?
And that I kind of just play myself for fun, but would never really play them live. But I think one day when I have more albums out, it would be fun to go back and do a compilation of like a bunch of metal songs done acoustically that I've released in the past.
Hmm.
But yeah, as for other stuff, Blackbraid's really the first big thing I've done. Um, when I was in like college, I was in a few like metalcore bands and stuff, and I was always playing lead guitar, but back then I didn't really write any of the music either, aside from like leads or something like
Mm-hmm.
um or like solos or harmonies and stuff, but I wasn't ever like writing the meat of the song, and to me it was more just like a way to like party and meet girls and stuff, and I wasn't like I was having a blast, but I wasn't really like invested in the music at all. Like I wasn't pouring my emotions into it or anything. Um, and I was pretty content just letting the other guys in my band write the stuff too, because it was kind of just a hobby for me. Like, um, but with Blackbraid, it was definitely the first time I sat down and like wanted to write something substantial that I felt was meaningful and stuff. Um, Definitely the
Mm.
first time for that. Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
so now with
that explains why no social media and no nothing on Google.
all right, so John, with 1 week to go before the album finally releases, how are you, man? Excited, nervous,
I'm
confident?
real I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm pretty confident. Um, at this point, I've had so much time to kind of psych myself out about it. I'm like over it. Like I was worried at one point, I was a little nervous, but I've just been waiting to release these songs for so long, and it's only a week away, and like I really couldn't be more excited. Um, and then Sgah'gahsowáh is coming out as a music video tomorrow. Um, so that'll be the third and final single, and it'll also be the first full video I've done. Like we've done lyric videos and stuff, but not an actual music video. So um,
Okay,
that'll be
so
tomorrow, and then another week for the release. But yeah, I couldn't be more excited for it.
okay, so humor me on this. Since you've kind of done everything on the album, I'm guessing you also put together the packages. And I was just looking at your merch store, and you've got like an extensive set of merch available. And also, you sold out already like
Yeah.
a month in advance. So, how sick are you of like putting together all those packages and like
Oh.
taping and labeling and all of that? Be honest.
Well, the thing is, like right now, I'm pretty happy because that was all pre-order. So, all those shirts and stuff, like they're getting delivered to me on Monday, and then I'm like, and then I'm gonna like have no life aside from packing for like 2 weeks straight. But I haven't packed a single package yet. Like I'm waiting for all the CDs and the tapes just showed up this morning, and all of the clothing is coming on Monday. When that stuff gets here, I'm gonna be like buried in shipping for a week or two, and I'm probably gonna hate it. But like right now, I haven't had to pack a single package, so I'm still feeling pretty great.
Awesome.
John, honestly, absolute pleasure to talk to you at the moment, and full power for what definitely will and hopefully should be a long, long, long career.
Yeah, thank you. You guys are awesome. I'm happy to talk to you anytime. So
Let's definitely catch up when Blackbraid 2 is about to hit our ears, whenever
yes,
soon that is.
yeah, definitely.
That was Sean from Blackbraid. Check it out. It hits next week. And once you've heard that, come back and let us know what you thought about it. You can do that on hornsupod.com or on Twitter at hornsupod. I'm only on Twitter. Yes, only on Twitter at Asmoani.
I'm at Trend Crusher. You can Google me and find me.
Alrighty, that was Horns Up.
Horns up, guys.